Hi everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. Um, my name's Alan Reid. I'm head of sport and PE at Esher Sixth Form colleague, and we're joined by my colleague Vicky Corp, who's responsible for our BTEC Sport course as well. Tonight we're here to answer questions. Basically, I can see a couple of people have already typed stuff in, which is great. And really the focus will be for us to just work through and answer these questions, and myself or Vicky will do that. So as you can see on the screen, anything to do with BTEC Sport or A-level PE, or there's a few other things that we are responsible for in our department, such as we've got a sports leadership program, and then lots of sort of enrichment sport through the teams and our physical activity enrichment program and the role of sporting excellence. So I can see there's loads of questions coming in. So between myself and Vicky, we'll start working through them. So I can see Mariana has asked the first question, probably the most important one, which is what's the difference between BTEC Sport and A-level PE. So I'll just give a quick overview of A-level PE, and then perhaps Vicky can talk about the BTEC, so you guys will get a good understanding of the difference between the two courses. So the A-level PE is really building on GCSE PE. It's largely speaking an examination-based course, so 70% of it is exams. So students will do 3 exams: one in physiology of sport, one in psychology of sport, and one in sociology of sport. They do those at the end of the 2 years, and that accounts for 70% of their grade. So largely speaking, the lessons are theoretical lessons building up towards those exams at the end of the academic or the end of the 2 academic years. The other 30% of the course is non-exam assessment. So 15% of that is a spoken assessment where the students have to watch a performance and analyze it and then give a verbal response to what they've seen. And the other 15% is practical performance. So we have to assess the student's ability in one sport, right? So they choose their preferred sport, and we assess them over the course of the 2 years on how effective they can perform in a full competitive scenario. So largely speaking, there's quite a bit of science in there, a lot of anatomy and physiology and biomechanics, as well as some sports psychology. So quite a bit of sort of science-based, as well as the more sociological and sort of contemporary issues within sport in terms of the theory side of things. So that's the assessment, broadly speaking, and what you would be studying. Vicky, do you want to give a quick overview of BTEC?
Yeah, so with the BTEC Sport, there are no exams, so it's 100% coursework based, and the emphasis is on coaching ability. So whereas the A-level is about the student's practical performance in a sport, with the BTEC Sport course, it's all about really their ability in coaching. And 50% of the qualification is based on their coaching ability, and that's practically assessed. And then there are further units really related to the industry of sport, and we have, for example, a unit called Careers in the Sport and Active Leisure Industry, where jobs and the whole structure of the industry is looked at, and that's assessed through coursework. So with the diploma, 50% is coaching, and then 50% is theory. There are more units on the diploma than the extended certificate, but both courses are 100% coursework. There are no exams, and both courses are 50% practical, and that practical is from the coaching unit called Unit C1, Developing Coaching Skills.
Thanks, Vicky. Deborah, I can see you've asked a question there about how is the A-level PE assessed. Hopefully we've addressed that, but I'll sort of very quickly go over that again. So 70% of it is exams, and within those exams there are essays. So the first exam paper has 90 marks, and that includes a 20-mark essay. The second and third paper are both worth 60 marks, and that includes a 10-mark essay. So yeah, there are some essay writing requirements of that. And then the other 30%, as I say, is non-exam assessment. So 15% verbal response to to a video of a practical performance, and 15% is assessed in a particular sport of the student's choice. Question there from Vanessa: what sports teams does the college represent in? So we have quite a full fixtures program on a Wednesday afternoon. Largely speaking, the main sports, we've got men's and women's hockey, we've got men's and women's football, we've got men's and women's basketball, we've got men's rugby and netball at the moment as well. So they're the ones that we typically compete in on a Wednesday afternoon within our fixtures program. But there are also lots of other sports that we send students to. So, for example, today I took a cross-country team to an event this afternoon. We enter some students in tennis competitions, badminton competitions, cricket, golf, lots and lots of different things. They tend to be sort of a bit more ad hoc as they happen through the year. But largely speaking, the sort of the main team sports are on a Wednesday afternoon. Next question there from Christine: how many spaces are on the course? Is there enough for everyone? Typically, we don't have a waiting list. No. This year we've got our second year classes. We have 4 classes. Our first year in PE anyway. In our first year is there's 3 groups. Normally we would go up to a maximum of 22 in a group. So typically we can have up to, on PE we can have up to 88. On BTEC Sport we tend to have up to about 80 in each year. We can cater for that, and we wouldn't ordinarily have a waiting list. Quite often it gets close to that, but never generally speaking enough for there to be a waiting list. So if you want to do PE, then or BTEC Sport, then the students will get onto that course. Vicky, do you want to answer that question there on BTEC? Can you do BTEC Sport as a 4th course?
So generally students don't do 4 courses. So most students will do 3 A-levels or the equivalent to 3 A-levels. So the answer to that really is no, because we don't really do 4 subjects. The way the BTEC is structured though is that you can either do a diploma or an extended certificate, and the diploma is worth 2 A-levels and the extended certificate is worth 1 A-level. So with the extended certificate, you would have 2 other subjects with that, so that would make up your 3. And then with a diploma, that would make up 2 subjects, and then you take an additional A-level with that. So you'd always do 3. Some students who have exceptional ability and get fantastic GCSE results, maybe have 9s across the board, then it might be the case that they can do a 4th A-level, and at that point it would be looked at as to whether a BTEC Sport would be suitable. But generally 3 A-levels or 3 subjects or equivalent to 3 A-levels is what most students will study here. I hope that's answered your question, Harry.
Yeah, Vicky, there's another BTEC Sport question there. What does the sports coaching and development link better to? Is it psychology or applied science? Have you got any thoughts on that?
Well, they link equally as well, so it depends what you want to go on to do after, really. If you want to do something like sports science, then the applied science might be very good. But if you wanted to go off and do sports psychology at degree level, then psychology is going to be an excellent choice. If you do the single sport, you could actually do both. You could do extended sport, psychology and science. You could actually do the 3. So I would just say it depends on what you're going on to do after you've done your A-levels as to which one is better. They both go really well. And we have a number of students who do BTEC Sport and psychology and BTEC Sport and science.
Thanks, Vicky. Anya's got a question there: how much biology is there in the theory? I'll answer that from an A-level PE perspective. Essentially, there's one examination unit which is physiological factors that affect sports. That's worth 30% of the student's grade. Within that's broken down into 3 sections. So there's an anatomy and physiology section, which is essentially human biology. and that is 1/3 of that paper. So effectively, it's 10% of the grade. Also within that paper, there's an exercise physiology, which is more looking at training and adaptations to training. So there is some biological side to that, and the third part of that is more sort of physics, if you like, and maths, because there's a biomechanics section within that. So each of those three areas, anatomy, exercise physiology, and biomechanics, they're worth sort of equally 1/3 of that paper, which is worth 30%. Vicky, was a bit of anatomy on the BTEC. Do you want to make reference to that?
Yeah, so on the BTEC Sport diploma, there is a unit called Anatomy and Physiology. So the biology would come into that area, and that comes into the second year, and that's one unit. And it's very similar to the anatomy and physiology that's done in the first year of the PE course. If you're doing the extended certificate, there is a small amount of anatomy and physiology when you do the unit that's called Health, Wellbeing and Sport. Other than that, then none at all. So really the only biology you get in BTEC Sport is on the diploma course, and that's all anatomy and physiology based.
Thanks, Vicky. Vanessa's got a question there. Would you recommend A-level PE or A-level biology alongside BTEC Sport, or is it individual choice? Any pros to doing A-level PE and BTEC Sport? So yeah, we do get students that do both. Some of us, we have some students that do the single award BTEC and A-level PE, and some students that actually do the double award BTEC Sports and A-level PE. We do allow students to do both because there is very little crossover. There's a slight crossover, as we just mentioned, with some anatomy, but generally speaking, the courses are so different that you can do both. So students that do both would, especially if they do the double BTEC and A-level PE, that would be their whole study program, would be sports. So yeah, there is a benefit to doing that if it's a student who really only wants to focus on sports and is very driven in that particular field and is looking to carry that on at university or into employment. Then there's a good reason to do that, because the courses are so different. The PE is very much more like sports science, and your BTEC, you're going to get a lot of coaching skills from that, as well as things like health and fitness and management within the sports industry as well. So they are different. So there is a reason to do both. Obviously, we would want a student to be really confident that that's the field that they are interested in if they're going to go down that route. In terms of doing A-level PE or biology alongside BTEC Sport, I think really it's an individual preference. Obviously, A-level PE has some anatomy and physiology within it, but lots of other areas. So if a student really wants to do really focus on the biology, and biology isn't just human biology, then they would then obviously that would be preferable for them to do that rather than the A-level PE. What we tend to find is students that are doing a sport course alongside biology is because they're really interested in going on to something like physiotherapy. So if you want to do physiotherapy, you would be expected to have a science, and so in that case, yeah, biology would be preferential for sure. Yeah. So hopefully that answers that question. Question there in the prospectus, PA level says you must be competing regularly. Do you have to do that for ESHA or for an external team? So it depends really. I mean, generally speaking, the key thing is that students are competing. Now, obviously, we can't cater for competitive performance for every single student, because of the sport that they've chosen to do. So we get, for example, quite a lot of rowers. We don't have a rowing team, so those students would be doing that externally. What we do ask is that students who are doing a team sport that we offer at college, we do ask those students to be part of that team, so we can see them play more frequently and give them more feedback to help them with their performance. But that doesn't exclude them from participating externally, because the more that they're playing and getting exposure to quality coaching, the better, really. So it can be either. Essentially, it doesn't have to be at college, and it doesn't have to be for an external club. It could, as long as they are competing. That's the key thing. Next question there is thinking about taking a sports management course. Would you recommend BTEC Sport or A-level PE? Vicky, I think I'll pass that one over to you.
Yeah, that's fine. I think in this circumstance, actually, I think it could be either PE or BTEC Sport. But what I would suggest is that you would maybe do alongside that a business qualification. So business A-level or business BTEC. I suppose with the BTEC Sport qualification, you are going to be getting some more vocational scenarios. We do look a little bit at sport development. There's no real, apart from one unit actually on the diploma where we do self-employment in sport and active leisure. That's the only probably business type of unit that we do on the BTEC Sport. So I would say either on that question, but business alongside the two would help for sport management.
Yeah, thanks, Vicky. Girls rugby team. What we did, we took our girls rugby team to a tournament a few weeks ago. Again, that's something that we tend to do. Not well, in the past we've had sort of formal weekly sessions. This year we're trialing it where we're having sort of more ad hoc sessions and then going along to a tournament. So yes is the answer to your question. There is a girls rugby team. In terms of how often they train or play, it's not as frequent as some of our other team sports like netball or girls rugby or girls hockey at the moment. But yes, we do have a team, and we did take our team to a competition fairly recently. So it's something that we are growing within the college as well. And we've got quite a few female rugby players this year, which is really good. What level do you need to be at in your sport to get a good grade for the practical? Yeah, it's difficult one to answer that in terms of the A-level PE, because obviously every sport is different. Now they should be comparable across all sports, but obviously if you're a football player, for example, then chances are, if you are competing on an international level, then you're probably not going to be at college. You're going to be in a professional academy somewhere. Whereas that might be different for certain other sports like a badminton or a tennis or a rowing or something like that, where they may well be international performers, and in fact we do have that, but still be in a full-time college education. So in terms of level, it's not like I can't say exactly you can be county to get this mark, or regional for this mark, or international for this mark, because it differs across sports. What I can say is that to reach sort of the top level, if you like, it should be comparable across all sports. So in terms of sort of relative level. So for example, what we do is we make sure that we moderate across sports. So if we're going to give someone 25 out of 30 in football, then that would be the same in rugby. So I guess one obvious example I could say is in athletics. For a male student, you'd have to get full marks, you'd have to run about 100 meters in about 11 seconds, which is very, very quick. So that would be the sort of level to get full marks in athletics. That's something that often, a sort of a generic thing that people often can recognize, that is a very, very high standard to get top marks, and that should be comparable across across all sports really. So that's sort of the benchmark level, but it's difficult to say in terms of an actual level because it does change across different sports. Question there from Denise. Vicky, would you like to answer that one? What opportunities will students get to coach practically?
So, Denise, there's lots of opportunity for students to coach practically. We get them started actually straight away on introduction day when they come in June with their taster session. They have a little go coaching then. And then when they start in September, basically 50% of their lessons is coaching. So for the extended certificate students, that means 2 out of the 4 lessons, they'll be doing practical coaching. And then for the diploma students, 4 out of their 8 lessons a week will be coaching. And initially, they'll join up with another group and they'll coach each other, or they'll coach in pairs, in small groups. When we start going on to practically assess their coaching, they then coach an entire group on their own, but they do that after they've had quite a lot of practice for half of the year. Then in the second year, when they go out to do the unit that's called Applied Coaching Skills, at that point they will find a placement for 6 weeks. They do 1 session over 6 weeks, it's just an hour, so they don't go out for the whole time. And then they will do their own coaching outside in the community. So there's quite a lot of opportunity. Also, as well as their BTEC Sport course, they can also do the Sports Leaders Award in the first year, and that's an additional coaching qualification, and that's over 1 period a week. And then in the second year, they can do the High Sports Leaders Award, which is 2 periods a week, and again that's coaching. So there's lots of opportunities. They will build up their skills to begin with in the lessons, and then they'll have their assessment after they've done that. So hopefully that's answered your question, Denise.
Thanks, Vicky. There's another question about girls rugby. Yes, we do have some girls rugby provision. It tends to be when competitions arrive, we'll do a few training sessions and then take students to those competitions. And we did one fairly recently, actually. So yeah, we do have some girls rugby. Can you be part of more than one sports team? Generally speaking, I would say no, because they all tend to happen at the same time in terms of when the fixtures are. Normally our fixtures program is a Wednesday afternoon, so there are a couple of exceptions to that. So women's basketball tends to be a slightly different time, but what sometimes we do get is students who are, say, good football players and good hockey players, for example. They sometimes move between the two, so they're timetabled on a Wednesday afternoon, but they occasionally move between sports. But generally speaking, students commit to one. In terms of being assessed for A-level PE, yes, you can, but we can assess students in more than one sport. Only one will be carried forward as your grade, though. So we would assess students in multiple sports if they wanted that, and then decide which the best one is for their grade going forward. Required grades to take A-level PE are the college expectations. Students have 5 passes at GCSE, so 4 and above. For A-level PE, we would expect students to have passed science and English. Ideally, we'd want students to pass maths as well. But of course, if they've studied A-level PE, GCSE PE, or a level 2 BTEC in sport, we would have expected them to pass that as well. Vicky, do you want to answer the next one? Can you just do the BTEC and not take any other courses?
Not recommended, and not really, because the diploma is just worth 2 A-levels. So you would need to take on either another BTEC extended certificate or an A-level in order to get you up to a 3 A-level program. So the only time, and it doesn't happen that often, is if maybe a student has come and they've got their 5 GCSEs, but they haven't passed their maths, their English or their science. And under those circumstances, but this is quite rare, a student might do the national diploma in sport, and then they'll have resit lessons then for their maths, English, and their science. But generally, no, because the national diploma is worth only 2 A levels, another subject needs to go alongside that, and that could be a BTEC or an A level.
Thanks, Vicky. Next couple are for you, I think, as well. Male female ratio in the groups.
Yeah. So I saw that question and I was having to think about it. This really varies every year. This year, the first years, we have roughly 80% boys, 20% girls. That's just a very estimate. That's on the diploma. Last year's cohort that went through in the second year, it was 50-50. So it's up and down. I can't really say in general terms. And also it varies as well in the extended certificates on that course. I think this year it's a little bit more even, 50-50 girls, boys. But previous years, it's been, more boys than girls. I don't think we've ever had a year where it's been more girls than boys. But it can be 50-50 or a little bit towards more boys than girls. So, sorry, not a very concise answer or definite answer, but it varies year on year. So I'll do the next question as well.
Yeah, go for it.
Is BTEC Sport a lot more work than the 2 A levels? So if you're doing the diploma in sport, then that is 2 A level with 2 A levels, but you have 8 lessons worth as well. But also if you're doing the A level, which is one PE A level, then you'll have additional 2 subjects. So in terms of the workload is roughly the same because you're going to be doing 3. If you're doing the extended certificate in sport, which is worth 1 A level, then the workload is the same, but it's just different. So with the BTEC Sport, it's more coursework and it's spread out over the year. Whereas with the A level, you have your exam at the end of the 2 years. So it's just a different way of working. But I would say the workload is the same for each A level that you're studying.
Thanks, Vicky.
Okay.
I'll have a look at the next couple there. Is being part of the rugby team count as a sport for BTEC coaching? Not necessarily, no, because obviously if you're in the rugby team, that's you're playing rather than coaching. So you would need to do some coaching in lessons or externally as well. There's another question about that I'll answer in a second. So no is the answer to that. Competitive dance for A-level PE, yes, you can be assessed in dance. There's a whole different range of dances, whether it's contemporary or tap or ballet, but yes, you can be assessed in dance for A-level PE. Within sports coaching, are you assessed on external coaching? Vicky, do you want to answer that one?
Yes, in the first year, which is the applied coaching, developing coaching skills, then you coach other students within the college, and then in the second year you do go out on a placement, and you have 1 session a week over 6 weeks, and that is external coaching, but that's kind of very much coordinated, by the course and the department, and we come out and visit. So that's what you're assessed on. If you're doing other coaching independently, in your own time or as a part of a job, then that wouldn't be assessed. It would just be the 6 sessions that you would do when we come out and observe, or when we get you to video the session. Okay.
Thanks, Vicky. There's another question, but later on there from Dan about who do we coach. I think you've probably just answered that, but just to reiterate, in the first year, you're probably going to coach other students at college. If you're on the single award BTEC or the double award, but for the double award BTEC in your second year, you would be coaching externally, and you would find a placement, whether it be a local football club or a local gymnastics club or whatever where you wanted to coach. Neil, do we offer gymnastics as an option within A-level PE? I mean, we don't we don't have a gymnastics team as such, but students, yes, can be assessed in gymnastics, and they have to do they have to show us evidence of 2 events, so they could do floor and vault, or for example. But yeah, you can be assessed in gymnastics. Requirements to be in one of the sports teams. Again, it varies per team. So so for certain teams like football, men's football particularly, we will run trials at the start of the year. And obviously, if it's a trial, we're picking on ability from what we see. Other sports where numbers aren't as, so for hockey, for example, we've got a men's and a women's team. Typically, we can cater for everyone regardless of their level of experience. So it does really differ for each team. Yes, we do have students who go on to do scholarships in America. We had a student left last year who's gone on to do a football scholarship. We support them a few different ways. We have links with organisations that offer scholarships, or that support students to get scholarships. So we offer sort of talks either in person or online, and we can provide links. And we've also got a dedicated progression department at college as well, who support students with looking into scholarships to the US. And how many hours per week are you in college for the BTEC National Diploma? Well, all subjects have 4 lessons a week, so that totals 4 hours and 20 minutes. For the National Diploma, that would be double that, so 8 hours and 40 minutes per week, basically, for that, because that would account for 2 of your subjects. Okay, right. I think we've got to probably just beyond our time, and go on. One last question that sneaked in there. What sports are available to be taken for 15% of the assessed work? There is a list that the exam board publish. I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll just put a link into this chat in a minute and then you'll be able to see, because there's a whole range of sports now. There are some emissions, but generally speaking, it does cover a very broad range of sports. But I'd be here a long time if I was going to list them all. So I'll put a link into the chat here, so you can see the criteria for the non-exam assessment. Okay. If anyone's got any questions that you didn't get to ask today, I'll just put my email address in here as well, so feel free to contact me if you wish to. I'll just pop that link in there in a second. But other than that, thank you for joining us and for asking your questions this evening.
Thank you.